Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I wanted to talk to you about the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. It was called A Few Badgies More, which of course is a takeoff on the title of the film For a Few Dollars More. As the episode begins in the Kala system, a Drukmani salvage ship beaming up wreckage unknowingly beams up a handheld device on which Badgie is the operating system, and he soon assimilates the captain. Badgie, of course, you'll recall, is Rutherford's creation. That's kind of like the old Microsoft Word paperclip thing, but in Lower Decks, it attained sentience and got out of control. As this is happening elsewhere on a Binar ship, some Binars are binaring when they come upon the killer ship, which destroys them. On the Cerritos, our lieutenants are testing a grappler that they've added to a shuttle, and it goes wrong, grabbing Tendi by her uniform top and actually ripping it off. Speaking of Tendi, she's sent to the Daystrom Institute to attend a parole hearing for Peanut Hamper, her exocomp that went rogue and did some bad things, winding it up in prison. And BOIMLER goes with her because the evil computer that he ended up jailing there as well claims to have knowledge about who attacked the Binars, which he will only discuss with BOIMLER, though Starfleet is suspicious that this is a ploy. At the Institute, Peanut Hamper is tending to some tomatoes she's been growing with an assist from the other AI, voiced by Jeffrey Combs. And as they converse, we see that the two of them are hatching an escape plan involving her faking having reformed herself at her hearing. While investigating the attack on the Binar ship, the Cerritos comes across the Drukmani ship, which asks for help before Badgie zaps the captain. Apparently, Agamis, that's the other AI voiced by Jeffrey Combs, has been receiving telemetry from its drones that it had released, I guess, before being captured, which is how it knows what it knows about the attack on the Binars, which is odd because this computer, last we saw it, was locked away in a tiny cubicle in a wall of cubicles full of bad computers and cut off from the outside world, because when it has contact with the outside world, it does bad things. And the same was true of Peanut Hamper, but she's out and about doing stuff as well after, I guess, having convinced the jailers that she'd reformed, which I guess Agamis has also done. And I don't see why anybody would fall for that. Anyway, while this is happening, the Cerritos is fending off an attack led by Badgie. So against orders, Rutherford, accompanied by Mariner, space jumps over to the other ship to confront Badgie and ends up hugging him and treating him like a beloved son, at which point Badgie splits into two entities, the second one being Good G, because Badge E is also Bad G, so now the other self is Good G. And he did this, I guess, because he wanted to be able to stay evil, which he wouldn't be able to do with his emotions that he was feeling for Rutherford or whatever. So after BOIMLER met with Agamis, Agamis showed his true colors and took him hostage along with Tendi and forced them to pilot a shuttle and take him to the planet where he was supposed to be waiting for Peanut Hamper to meet with him so they could go off on their own way, I guess, only to surmise that she's betrayed him. Badgie remotely releases gas on the Cerritos, intent on killing the whole crew, but Rutherford tricks him into shutting it off by appealing to his logic, which causes him to split himself yet again, causing a third entity, you guessed it, called Logicy, to be created. Logicy, though, ends up reinserting itself into Badgie in an attempt to stop its rampage. Agamis takes the still captive lieutenants to a planet it was supposed to end up going to with Peanut Hamper after the rendezvous that didn't happen, and takes it over, but not finding her, it gets the lieutenants to take it elsewhere, and they find Peanut Hamper running a ship where apparently there are other exocomps, including one that is apparently her dad. She ends up telling Agamis that though she originally was plotting with him to execute some evil scheme, she really did feel remorse for what she'd done previously and just kept going with the plot because she liked hanging out with him. Badgie, meanwhile, manages to spread his code out a vast distance and take over a whole bunch of ships and stations, giving him unlimited power and knowledge and apparently the ability to see the past, present, and the future at the same time. And upon gaining this sort of godhood, finds himself enlightened and decides to go create his own universe somewhere, releasing everything that he had taken over. Agamis finds himself re-imprisoned, but this time committed to actually reforming, so he can be with the truly reformed Peanut Hamper. And he actually discloses the information he has about the attack on the Binar ship, and it turns out that all the ships that we've thought were being destroyed all season were in fact just being digitized and stolen. As the episode ends, Rutherford gets Good G to help him fine-tune the grappler on the shuttle, though in the process, Boimler accidentally gets hung up on the wall by his pant leg by the grappler, which is where the episode ended. So this episode was just kind of crazy. And I didn't think that it amounted to a whole bunch. You know, they sort of just rehashed the whole plot where this evil computer Agamus and the evil hologram Badgie run amok and do bad things, which we've seen before. So I didn't think it was great. I mean, it was great to hear Jeffrey Combs again, and you know, he says some funny stuff, and there's some funny moments, even with Badgie and everything. But I don't know. I didn't think much of it. I mean, I was glad to see that Peanut Hamper had redeemed herself and had turned a new leaf. That's good, I guess. And it was interesting that at the end we learned that the ships aren't actually being destroyed but stolen. So that's interesting. But just as a minute-to-minute experience, I don't know. I didn't think much of it, and I didn't understand why these two evil AIs or whatever had been allowed to get out of their little enclosures and go through the process of reforming themselves. I mean, I guess they're sentient life, and you would treat them like sentient life, which is why they're imprisoned and not just shut off to begin with. But like, I don't know, it just seems folly to me that they would do this, and especially to let Agamus have control of drones. Like, really? He's gonna start taking over stuff. Like, I mean, I guess he managed to fool the authorities by switching his red light to a blue light, which I guess means good computer. But I don't know, it just didn't seem like the kind of thing that would be done, given how they locked them up so tightly initially. I just thought it was kind of weird that they went that route with these two particular machines, or any of the machines that are locked up there. I just thought it was contrary to what they'd shown before in terms of how they deal with rogue artificial intelligences. So I didn't like that. On the good side, we didn't have Boimler whining about anything, and we didn't have Mariner whining about anything. So that was good, because that gets to be a little much, really and truly, you know, when they're always like at a crisis point and whining about something. It just drags everything down, I think, because it's just been done so much. And in this episode, they kind of didn't really do that. So I thought that was good. Mariner was actually helpful to Rutherford, you know, and encouraged him and everything. And you know, because he was feeling badly that he had created Badgie and screwed it up. But she kind of made him feel better. So I thought that was good, because she's normally kind of like a downer character, or she can often be. So I liked that, but just wasn't a lot to the episode, really. It was kind of just rehash. So I don't know, maybe next week will be better, and maybe we'll learn even more about what's going on with this evil spaceship that keeps, I guess, digitizing alien ships and stealing them, kind of along the lines of what V'ger did when it would digitize things that it came across in Star Trek the Motion Picture and then store them in its memory. So I don't know. We'll have to see what's going on with that. But for now, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back to review next week's episode once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.